is there so much focus on the relationship between the board and the head of school? Does it really make that much of a difference? In this video, we explore the drivers to building a strong partnership with the head of school and the pitfalls of ignoring this delicate aspect of governance. Most of the major accreditation agencies identify the special relationship between the board and the head of school as being important, and often have criteria or rubrics to guide the expected interactions and outcomes. Research and case studies also lead us to recognize how important it is to sustain a strong relationship with the head of school, and this is often described as pivotal or key to the success of the school. So let's break this down a little so that we can better understand the dynamics and the issues at play. As has been said before, typically the board only has one direct employee, which is the head of school, and so there's a moral and business obligation to take care of that person. But this of course comes with challenges. So try to take yourself out of your current situation and look at the school from a different perspective, as though you were looking down from a helicopter view. The school is a collection of diverse faculty and staff, inspiring the school's children in their learning while managing a business concern, often with competing priorities, and where parents flow in and out of the equation. The board, on the other hand, provides a web of broader connections within the school into the local communities, and the two aspects come together where the board interfaces with the head of school. In understanding the relationship with the head of school, one has to recognize that there are multiple trustees involved, each with different motivations and priorities, and whose measures of success may be very different to those from the head of the school. Throw into the mix the potential for only one-way performance feedback and ambiguous or contradictory direction from the board, it's easy to see some of the challenges. And while a strong board-head relationship is not a guarantee of school success, when the relationship breaks down, this almost inevitably leads to disruption and lack of focus in the school's community. Stephen Covey said that trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. The head is empowered to be the public figure in the school, tasked with the responsibility of bringing to life the decisions, directions, and policies of the board. All the requests, directives, and initiatives from the board fall to the head of school to implement, and in so doing navigate the best way to garner the support of the teachers and staff and parents and students to achieve the desired outcomes. Remember that it is the board that defines policy and the head that implements it. The head of school, as the visible leader, is also the person that may be the focus of intense criticism when unpopular decisions or policies are introduced. Therefore, each trustee that makes up the whole board must ensure that the head of school is publicly supported. We've explored some of the problems that can occur when teachers or parents try to go round grievance procedures to get the outcome that they want, or to splinter trustees away from the single voice messaging from the board. And this is fundamental when it comes to board relationships with the head of school. If you can see the importance of trustees being united in the messages that they share with the community and to speak with one voice, then so too must be the support for the head of school. It must be publicly apparent, for without it, it's effectively a vote of no confidence. If you believe in the concept of supporting consensus decisions on the board, then if the implementation of these is to be successful, the head needs to be seen as being empowered to take them forward. You can probably begin to see that if you're not publicly supporting the head, then either you're saying you have no confidence in the head of school, or indeed the board itself. Now that's not to say the head of school goes off and can do anything unchecked, since you as trustees are responsible for managing the performance of the head and of the board itself. The earlier comment about one-way feedback alludes to the fact that the trustees will be guiding and providing feedback on the head of school, and of course everyone will have an opinion on that. But it's often harder to look in the mirror and question one's own part in the matrix of decisions. You will have the opportunity in meetings to provide feedback to trustees and to the head of school on how issues are being dealt with and implemented. But getting a trusting relationship which is publicly supported takes effort and reflectiveness. You may hear the phrase "a culture of no surprises," which describes the two-way open communication between the head of school and trustees, typically coordinated by the chair. It's commonly the chair that nurtures the relationship with the head of school through regular, less formal meetings where there can be a free exchange of ideas and concerns. The head of school would share those issues from the school community that may make its way to require the attention of the board. And similarly, the board chair would share concerns that the head of school should be aware of. The trust developed in these meetings is often the pivotal point, both ways, which leads to either a long and successful head of school or a turnover that inevitably goes with uncertainty within the school. Salt and sugar look the same, so trustees are often in the position of trust but verify, whereby they put their faith in the head of school while looking for complementary data sources to support and add credibility to reports. On the other hand, heads of schools are often wary of mixed messages or duplicitous behaviour of trustees, and so will also be doing their own salt-sugar tests whenever they receive feedback from the community about trustee integrity. Trust is a bit like saloon doors in the Western movie. They swing both ways. One way to avoid potential conflicts of interest or public opinion is to avoid discussions of board-related matters in social interactions, and to ensure that any concerns or performance issues of the head of school are only discussed in working or closed board sessions. Trust is built over time, and it can be destroyed in seconds. Trust may be initially assumed as the starting point with a new head of school or a chair, but it has to be built on consistent integrity. When trustees and heads understand their mutually supportive roles and accept the good intentions of working towards common mission, a strong partnership can be formed. It's not about liking someone or agreeing with everything they say, but rather through respecting other people and their views. But make no mistake, trust and integrity are key ingredients to a successful partnership. Another phrase used by Stephen Covey was to sharpen the saw. As trustees, you'll want to ensure that your most crucial and probably only direct employee has sufficient opportunities to sharpen the saw through professional development. Now, professional development does not necessarily mean courses, although it most certainly can, but involves multiple strands that allow the head of school to experience new thinking and connections. Attendance in regional heads conferences can help grow networks that can help with advice, as do online platforms such as AceNet. Involvement with accreditation of other schools is also a powerful model for professional development, since it allows the head to visit other schools and reflect deeply on good practice. And it's worth reflecting on the different behavioural expectations that cause tension or disharmony. The majority of heads have risen through the ranks of the teaching profession, increasingly taking on more responsibilities and exposure, but few were born as hardened business leaders. Teachers are generally motivated through their desire to make a difference in their lives of others, and that taps into their creative and social dimensions of their personality. While money is a reward and needs to be sufficient to comfortably sustain them so that they're not forced to take second or third jobs to support themselves, usually money in and of itself isn't the reason people enter into the teaching profession. Teachers by necessity are well educated and usually have a very strong moral compass. When coupled with their authority in the classroom, typically leads to being opinionated and concerned about values such as fairness and nurturing. The point is this: trustees on the board will come from all walks of life, and their modus operandi for work may look very different, and the management techniques used in construction or banking may not sit alongside how the head of school is used to working within the school. That's not to say you handle the head with kid gloves, far from it, and it's always worth taking the time to reflect on your own personal experiences and how they interface with others before jumping to conclusions about the head of school. The head of school leads a very public life, where quite often every move is in the view of students, parents, teachers, and trustees, and they can't even go to the shops to buy toilet paper without someone recognizing them. The well-being of the head of school is usually led by the chair, but it's the responsibility of all the board. You should be able to respect the head's need for privacy at times, to disengage from the constant barrage of calls, questions, comments, but at the same time be alert to signs that he or she isn't coping. Stress can manifest itself in so many ways, and while a little bit of stress helps keep you on your toes, persistent and high levels of stress can lead to unhealthy choices of diet, exercise, or alcohol. And since the optimal performance of the head of school is required to enact the directions and aspirations of the board, thus it's in your best interest to ensure the health and well-being of the head. This could be summarized as a relationship between the head and the chair using 3 T's and 4 C's. T, transparency, building a culture of no surprises. T, trust, publicly supporting the head of school to do the work set. And T, tolerance, recognizing and respecting individuals and their differences. And the 4 C's, communication with a chair that is candid, caring, consistent, and continuous. What are the explicit strategies that you use personally and collectively as a board to strengthen the relationship with the head of school? What assumptions do you make when reflecting on this relationship, and how might you choose to adapt your strategies?